Hey there everybody, welcome back to my channel, welcome back to the video, to the stream, all that good stuff. Welcome back. As you can see, what I'm working on today is a continuation of my Millenium Falcon build. And what is that? Well, what that is exactly is the Bandai 144th scale Millenium Falcon from the Rise of Skywalker, this version. Now, what is this version? Why is it different? How is it different? I haven't been able to really come up with anything concrete because of course I don't have an older version of this thing, so I don't know for sure. But from what I can tell, this version comes with a lot more figures. It comes with like BB-8 and Rey and Poe and Finn and all those guys. It comes with a Chewbacca, all these tiny little figures. You get all those. And it comes with both versions of the, is it a deflector dish? Is it a radar dish? I don't know. We get the round one like you would if you were building, I don't know, the version from A New Hope, you know, the old version. And then you get the new version that you would see in the newer movies. Because at some point, you know, this thing gets knocked off. I think it's in, is it Empire Strikes Back or Return of the Jedi? I don't remember which one. But anyway, I did assemble both. What was actually quite funny, the instructions did not even give a hint about this one. Which is kind of funny because it was sitting there on a couple of the sprues, and I was wondering what the heck this rectangular piece was, figuring it's some kind of a panel that's going to go on somewhere, and of course it never happened. The instructions have me build the round dish to put on there, but again, that's it. And so I was looking at all the sprues to make sure I got all the parts done and everything like that, and I noticed this was still sitting on the sprues. I was like, hey, I wonder if that's the deflector dish, and or I'll keep calling it deflector dish, and it could very well be radar dish. I don't know, but the point is, we have it. So I took it off there, put it together. It's just two pieces. You go like that, just like that, done. Whereas this one was a little more involved. We got a couple of pieces that go together there, and then the dish, and that it's fixed. It doesn't move. Anyway, I'm building the newer version, so I don't really need the older one. So I have the newer one, and it goes there, same spot, just like that, done. But as you can see from, if you watched my last video, you can see that there's a heck of a lot more paint on this thing than there was before. And in fact, there was no paint on this before. So, it's pretty obvious to tell what I've done. I did all the red. Now, I could have done all this in decals. Kit comes with all the decals, both sticky kind and water slide, typical Bandai thing. I chose to paint it. So I chose a couple of paints, and kind of, as you can see, these aren't necessarily the exact same colors. Like, to just do the comparison between this and this, or this big rectangular here and this one here, the colors are not the same. And I'm sure you can even tell on the camera, they are not. This one here and this one here, they are different colors, right? So, what did I do with that? Well, I found that the darker gray is very close, and I happen to have a gray that pretty much matched almost perfectly. So, I got this gray. We have a couple of orange pieces. They're definitely orange on here. And so, I just grabbed, what I had was brown sand, and that matched it pretty good, and you can see that here. Looking at, I actually watched The Force Awakens, and looking at when they take off from, what was the name of the planet, Zaku or Jakku, I can't remember now, and they're flying and they get a good nice close-up of the top of the thing, and you can see it's more of a brownish color, so that actually worked out perfect for this. But then we got the lighter gray, and the lighter gray, of course, like I just pointed out, it's not the same color on here. So what I did is I took my gray here and I mixed it with a little bit of white gray. In my last video, I was asked you guys if you guys know the color that would perfectly match this thing. Tell me in the comments, and typical fashion, no comments. But I'm going to tell you now. Vallejo's model color white gray is a pretty darn close match to the molded color that this thing comes in. Pretty much identical. And so that's perfect for me. And so I mixed a little bit of this to lighten this up, but I also put in a couple of drops of dark sand, which is ironic because dark sand and brown sand, I would think by the name dark would mean darker, but it's not. The dark sand is a little bit lighter, and what that gave me was a little bit of the yellow tinge just to match this. So I wound up with a color that's not quite this, but not quite this. It's somewhere in between. And so I painted that, and that is represented right here and here, and there's this one here that's in between these two darker ones. I don't know if the camera really is going to pick it up or not. I'll try and show you on here. You can sort of tell that square there is a little bit lighter than these two, right? When I first did it, it was almost identical. It actually wasn't very much lighter at all. But what I did after is once I had painted it and I was looking at it, it's like, it's not really that much lighter, it's not much of a difference. So I just took a little bit of this white gray, diluted it with a little bit of water, just a couple of drops of water in it, so it's nice and almost like a wash, but not quite that thin. And then I just went over them and made them a little bit lighter, and that, I think, I'm happy with it. It's may not be perfectly, different or whatever, and so I did that. Got those done. What else did I do? I decided the gunner pods, basically on the show, this is actually the bottom one, but we'll put it there for now. In the show is actually, he can go from one to the other very easily. It's like a little tunnel, right? That actually is, there's no doors or anything in between the two. So I decided, you know what? Maybe I can do kind of a ambient light effect by dremeling out the back walls of both of them, and that way we can actually get some light in there from behind. It's going to be hard to see, but I can just get some ambient light in there, just to, if I do ever put lights in this thing, if I decide, that's the beauty of Bandai kits, is you just pull them all apart. I'll have that option, and it'll have light and you'll be able to see in there. So because of the fact that I'm doing that, I did actually paint in there, did some black wash detail in there. I don't like the fact that camera, I'm getting a new camera, by the way, and for this one here, so that I can take this camera and swap it or whatever. But I'm getting a new camera so that I don't have to zoom in quite so bad, and I'll actually have a proper optical zoom instead of digital. So there's that. So I just did, all I did was just take a black wash and just did some details in there, so that, I mean, you're not really going to see a lot, so I didn't really care about really adding a lot of detail. I just put some, so there is some. detail there. I did that on both of them, and that's that. So yeah, I did that to those. I decided, it's kind of funny, I took this thing and I was showing my dad, just showing him because he finds these kind of things really fascinating, and how people come up with designs of spaceships like this. And so I was just showing it to him, and I was telling him that I'm going to be displaying it with the landing gear up and everything, and he's like, you know, it would look better if the landing gear was down. And so I decided, you know what, he's right. So I decided to assemble the loading ramp. Hey, I remembered the name this time. I assembled the loading ramp, which goes right there. It's going to sit like that. And of course I assembled all the landing gear. Now what I found in Bandai's neat little idea of allowing you to have the landing gear in, and then you decide, hey, I'm going to take it off and I'm going to put just the plates there and cover it and close it up. They made the landing gear too loose. As you could put them in there, and as soon as you tip this thing over, they'd all fall out. So I decided, screw it, just glue them in. And so that's what I've done. I just glued them in. Now the feet are not glued. You can see they move just a little bit, but the actual bucket, or whatever you want to call it, they're glued in there now. So the landing gear stays. And then I'm going to have it displayed with this. Now I'll still have it on my stand, so it'd be like, hey, we're just sitting there hovering or whatever. But yeah, I'm going to be doing that. Have that sitting like that. Of course, I could just go, hey, they haven't deployed it yet, let's put this back in there and do that, right, if I want. It's kind of neat, the choices I got. Or I can have that so the loading bay is down. I did find that when I first put this down, the loading bay actually sat, I don't know, I want to say a millimeter lower than the landing gear. So what I did is I set it down on the table, and I let the landing gear sit as low as it needed to keep this thing level. See, it doesn't move. It's nice, and all the feet are all at the same level. So I let them all sit down, carefully picked it up, and then I glued them in their spots, exactly where they are, so everything's all sits. And when this is down, all 5 landing gear pads sit with this sitting nice and flush on the floor or ground, whatever. So that leads me to the next step, doing the aging, weathering, grease effects that you see all around here, all in these little streaky lines everywhere to make this thing look nice and old. I figured what I would try, as far as doing the exhaust, dirt, grime, whatever, stain, I figured I would try using a pigment. So I grabbed a black pigment and I just put it all over there and smeared it all down, and then used the pigment binder and put the pigment binder on there, and then let it sit overnight to dry. And that was a mistake, because the pigment is actually thick. And so what it did, once I put the pigment binder on there, it became like a thick mud, almost like, you know, like you would see on a tank track, right? Except now it's all over this. And so I wound up taking a toothbrush, dipping it in water, and kind of scrubbing it all off. And when I did that, it's kind of left enough on there that it looks good. It's not perfect. I should have done a wash. That would have been better. I don't have an airbrush, so I can't spray a nice little faded effect on it. And that's just the limitation I have. A wash would have been better. But I figured I'd try the pigment, and well, now I know better. So that's that. What I did do is I did use a wash, because you know, I'll show you a picture. Basically, let me get out of this and show you a nice picture here that comes up. This is from The Force Awakens, and so this is basically what I'm modeling it after. What I'm not doing the damage here. There's a bunch of damage right there, and there's also these 4 little, like it's been shot with 4 little, I don't know, laser bolts or something right up there at the top. I'm not doing the damage, but I'm doing the weathering. So you see at the front, they call them mandibles. At the very front of it, this is basically stained. It's dirty and black, kind of gray, faded kind of thing, and then also around this hole here on that upper mandible, and a little bit, but not quite so much on the lower mandible here around that hole. So we have that, and so I took a, which one did I use? Engine grime. No, I went with the engine grime first, but the engine grime has a kind of a brownish tone to it, and I didn't like that. So what I went with was a neutral gray. They call this one neutral gray, and so I did that, and it gave a nice little faded gray, you know, dirty effect. I'll show you on this one here too. Right there's a good angle, nicely kind of faded as it goes, and also around here you can see the dirty mess that is inherent of the Millenium Falcon, and that came out really good. And so I'm really wishing I had done that with the exhaust ports, but that's life. So I am completely finished doing the top of this thing. The only thing I need to do now is to do all that dirtiness and the stains on the bottom. One thing that did take a long time was doing all the panel lines, because there are, as you can see, there are a lot of panel lines on this particular craft. And so now I just need to get a good picture of the bottom of this thing. And I think this one was, although it's a little bit blurry, this one will serve me well as far as how much dirt and which direction to kind of spread it all out in. To do that. Now what's kind of funny is just noticing up here at the top, this looks like there was maybe, I don't know, something leaked, but it drained this way. It's all draining towards the inside, like gravity would dictate. But if I go to the other side, you can see gravity has taken this thing, and you can see it all runs towards the outside, right? So that's pretty cool that they're, you know, they made it look like it's all you know, it's the gravity is pulling it, rather than like you would see on, you know, an actual aircraft where it's leaking while the plane's flying and it's running in that direction, right? This doesn't do that. It's just running in the direction that gravity is taking it. So all I need to do, I'm going to start with the engine grime and shake this up, and I will start putting some random spots on it. as you might be able to tell, I don't know if you can tell on the camera, there's a little hint of brown in it. And that's okay. I don't mind the brown. So all I start off with, all I did was find a couple of little spots in the panel lines and make some dots. And that's pretty much good enough to start. And just kind of do it in some random spots. And depending on how big of a streak I want will depend on how big of a little dot I put on here. Now, I gotta refer back to my picture because I'm gonna have to go back and forth just to get a good idea of how much there is and where it all seems to come from. See, on the bottom, on this part here, it looks like it's streaking back. So we'll just do that. To there, and maybe do one out of here. When it comes to a few other spots, so because the picture is a little blurry, it's a little hard to tell just exactly how much they're doing, where it's coming from, and there doesn't seem to be a lot except for around a few spots here. Almost like it's more stuff that's, I don't know, maybe fallen and then it's dripped down. Hard to say. There's a lot of little lines like that, including some panels that are on the ship but are not on the model. There's one there, one here, and here, there. The other thing to keep in mind when you're doing this is remembering where you put them all. Do that one as a big one. Get a big leak there is what I'm going to say. I have to put some of that shading on the front here too, underneath, even though I'm not really going to see it. Say, hey, maybe had hydraulic leak from the landing gear at one point. Let's turn this around here a little bit. The nice thing, you know, as much as I'm trying to kind of duplicate the way this thing looks in the movie, it's not imperative that I put every single one in the exact same spot as what they have. Right? It's use your imagination, right? You get the freedom to do that, which is kind of nice. I think that's probably good enough. Okay, so that's going to be it for that one. Now, the question is, do I want any rust? Do I see any rust? Any spots that it actually looks like they're trying to do rust? Maybe in a couple. Maybe in a couple of spots. Let's do rust streaks. I am being summoned, somebody, so I will be back in a minute. Sorry about that, guys. Okay, so let's go back here. Where was I now? Rust. Yes, it does look like there are a couple of rust spots. Maybe from this little mechanism, whatever they're call that. Looks like maybe a couple of rust streaks from there. Kind of maybe in this corner of that panel. So rust is nice and dark, just like the other one, but it's just got that little bit of a orange to it. And from what I can tell, that's about it. And you will see when I start to streak this, you can really tell the difference that that's a rust stain, not grease, which is really nice. And now the last thing I'm going to do is my neutral gray. And the neutral gray is great for making it look nice and dirty. And that's what I'm going to do to my little panel here that goes on the bottom, because it's got a bunch. I'm going to use a little bit of a bigger brush for this one. It's kind of all, whoops, it's a good thing I threw it away because that was the top piece. It's this one here is all, I'm going to push this out. I don't want to accidentally paint the glass. It's all kind of right here. Now it's just a kind of dirty gray. It's not too much. So I'll just do that. And that's going to call that piece done. Oh, maybe not. I'm going to add a little bit onto here. Okay, now let's add just some panels here, just to make these panels look a little more weathered. Just because it looks a little too pristine. I think you'd agree with me, or I hope you agree with me, that this thing is looking very nice and almost brand new. So you can see I'm just kind of dabbing it on here. I will let it dry for a few minutes, but not too long. I don't really need it to dry very much. Because basically what I'm doing is I'm making it look dirty. That's the whole point of this. That's my entire intention on here. is just to make it look not so new on some panels. And that's pretty much it. Once this is all done, I'm going to clear coat it with a flat clear. And thereby sealing in all my paint everywhere. Okay, now the streaking. That's where I take my nice clean thinner. Close this now. And do that. And that'll work for me. Okay, so now I just take my clean thinner. I'm going to take my flat brush, this guy here, and just dip it in, get it wet with the thinner, and then I'm going to kind of dry it off. I don't want a lot of thinner. It's going to be just enough that it's going to streak. Now, I'm going to start by doing my dirt. I don't want to leave a lot of brush strokes on it. I just want to wash it away enough that it's staining the panel. I don't know if you can really see it on the camera or not, but I want it to look like the panel's no longer super nice and, you know, stain free kind of thing. That maybe this panel's just, it's dirt, it's dirty, you know what I mean? That kind of thing. And so I'm touching it just very lightly because the thinner really does, it really does a fantastic job of thinning it out and making it look gone, disappeared. Now if I was concerned about it, I could kind of clean off my brush a little bit to get some of the paint off, but I'm not too concerned about it. It's because I kind of want to utilize the dirtiness of the brush in making the panel look dirty, if that makes sense. I did just clean off my brush a little bit because this panel just got a little too much, and so it can just keep brushing at it. I can even wipe it with my finger to clean it off. And there we go. And then we have our little spots back here I did. I just kind of want a bit of a streaking on there, just a little bit. You know, just kind of like, who knows what happened on that panel, but okay, so now we're going to do these little dots, and all I'm going to do is just kind of pull in the direction that I want them, and that's all I'm doing. Very lightly make them go in the direction I want, and the more you pull it, the more it softens the look. And you can do it as little or as much as you want. It's really up to you. If you do a little too much, it's very easy just to go back and do it again. If your brush gets a little bit too dirty and you start putting streaks where you didn't intend to do a streak, you just go back, clean your brush a little bit, you go back to it, and you just texture it up some more. If you don't have enough in a spot and you want more, you just go back and put more. This technique is very forgiving when it comes to doing this. It's really, really nice. I find the biggest challenge is actually going in a straight line as it pulls. Now my brush is getting a little bit dry, so I'm just going to wet it again. But again, I'm going to dry it off. Because if I left it wet, basically what it'll do is it'll just clean it up completely with just one little swipe, and I don't want that. That's kind of the last thing you want. You don't want it to clean up completely. Okay, so for my fading up front here, I'm just going to pull this back like that and get it to kind of fog out a little bit. I'm going to keep it nice and dirty up at the very front edge, but I'm softening this back edge a little bit to give me a bit of a fog. Put it on the side here too. And it's as easy as that. I want to kind of hide my brush strokes a little bit, and I can do that just by kind of wiping it with my finger before the thinner dries it out. Go. Move around. Okay. We're getting there. And I think that's about it. A little spot back here I want to clean up a little bit. By clean up, I mean just kind of smear it around a little bit. And that's about it. I think I'm happy with how that's turned out so far. I got a little bit too much brush strokes here, so I want to soften this edge just to kind of feather it out a little bit. There, that looks a little better. And I think that's pretty good. I think we're in business. What I'm not happy with is how dirty this looks compared to how this side is. That looks pretty pristine, and I don't like that. So I'm going to take my neutral gray and I'm going to make it dirty. Just add something to it. Just to there. And while I'm at it, I'm going to do here too. Okay. I am actually quite impressed with how that neutral gray kind of just almost like a bit of a stain, and it works great. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, I want to put a little bit down here. Oh, what have we got? Chomp Vixen, Undefined at Duplicitous 29. Hello! If you need real free and high quality service to increase your viewers, check streamdetails.com. You know what? I think I've seen streamdetails.com. Thank you very much, Chomp Vixen. Thank you for the recommendation. I'm going to add a little bit of dirt here. Right here. You know what I haven't done yet? I haven't smeared my thinner on that. I love it when I get messages like that in my chat. That's awesome. Helps me out so much. Whoops! That lid really wanted to hide. Way at the back. If I can reach it now. Oh! Hello, keyboard. Hello, keyboard, my old friend. I've come to type on you again. Is that how the lyrics go? Okay, where were we? I gotta wet my brush. Put the lid on. Dry my brush. And now, make some stains. Just kind of using my finger to eliminate the brush strokes left. But of course, the finger's not a very good tool for leveling it out. So I just want to do that. It just adds to that little bit of I think that's good. Okay, next it was this thing. I want you to look dirty. Dirty bird. We even put some on the painted parts. Because, well, they wouldn't look pristine either. Now on this guy, now if I really wanted to, I could add those damaged effects, and I could use this to, you know, just add that charred, damaged look to it. I'm just going to go through some spots to make sure I haven't missed anything before I say I'm done. I think that's looking pretty good, to the point where I could say this part's done. Missed that one. I think we're pretty much done. I think so. I think we're done. So with that, I'm just going to clean my brush. Of course, it doesn't take a lot, just to make sure that it doesn't dry crisp. Okay, that can go in there. So now it's going to be time for clear coat. I want to seal in all the paint that I've done and keep it all nice. So I'm going to get my little table set up so that I can do that. There we go. Find my flat clear, right there. So I will start with the top. I don't have to do this like super thick or anything like that. It's just to seal it all in. I do, of course, want it even. But that's all I need to do. I don't need to do 2 coats of it or anything like that. Just that alone right there is good enough. So I'm going to do these 2 guys at the same time. That's pretty much all they need. Just like that. I'll hit this guy too, just in case there's going to be any inconsistency with the look. And I'm also going to do the little guns. Get that all done. Just like that. Give it a minute, and then I will flip it over and do the bottom. Figured I'd show you guys this. So this was the clear piece. You got 2 options for the canopy on the cockpit. You got the solid piece that I have on the thing, and then they give you a clear piece. They give you decals that you can put over top on the clear piece to give you all your lines. I tried that, and it failed miserably. It looked like crap. You totally could tell, hey, that's just a big frickin' decal on top. So that's when I decided, hey, well, let's see how it looks when I paint it. And so I gave it a coat of paint. And that's how it looks with 1 coat of paint. Just like that. It looks okay from your perspective. But on the floor, it doesn't look very good. But in real life, it looks like crap. And I would actually have to put like 3 coats of paint on it. And I don't have that expensive Tamiya paint or masking tape that's nice and thin but yet produces super clear, crisp lines. I don't have that. And neither do I have the patience to mask off every little window in order to spray paint it. Because I can't spray paint it, it's going to show all the brush lines. And I hate that. Which is why, in the end, I only painted one coat on this and put the other piece on. And just left it. So this should be dry now. And it is. And that's how it looks with the clear, with the flat clear on it. There's no more gloss. All my colors are all nice and, you know, the flat on this part is the same flat on this, and it looks good. I like it. There's nothing super shiny or anything like that. Although, I wonder if the actual thing is more of a semi-gloss. That's a possibility. But, for what I'm doing, it's going to be flat, and so now I'm going to put flat over the bottom. Remove these, since their single coat is good enough. Sure I'm getting all the angles. And there we go. And wait for that to dry, and that will be finished with that. In the meantime, while that's drying, I can reassemble my little fighter cockpits. There's that. And we put a gun in there. Just like that. Get that reassembled. Now we have a piece here that I could put in there if I was gonna not have it on its display stand, but I will be. That's got the holes in it that go right there, like that, just like that. So anyway, so there's that. So now this one. That, put the gun in, just like that. That's ready to go now. We got our dish. I'm not going to bother clear coating the dish, there's no point. We are just about done. This appears to have dried. So we take our bottom gunner, and he goes in there. Just like that. We take our pod ramp, loading ramp, that goes in there, and that completes that. Now we flip her over and put in our top one, just like that, and then we put on our dish. And voila, it is complete, just like that. We have the Bandai 144 scale Millenium Falcon finished. Just like that. So, like I always say, if you're watching this on my YouTube channel, head on over to my Twitch. Follow me on Twitch, and you can get notifications when I come live. And when I come live, you can talk to me just like this guy did, and I will respond to you as soon as I notice it on the screen, because a lot of times my head is down and I'm focused on my work. If you want to see still pictures of the models that I've built, you can check them out on my Instagram. again, Duplicitous29 underscore 29. I will put links to my Instagram and my Twitch down in the comments below. Or not in the comments, but in the description below. But yeah, follow me. If you like the Millenium Falcon, if you think I'm doing an okay job, you know, hit a like, hit subscribe. You can even hit the little notification bell thing once you've subscribed, I think. And then you get notified whenever I put a new video up. And all that good stuff. Yeah. So I'm going to call that a day. This is done. I'll take some pictures of it and I'll upload it on my Instagram a little bit later. And yeah, I think it looks pretty cool. It's not too bad at all. I was at the hobby store just a few hours ago, and I saw they had the perfect grade Millenium Falcon for like, oh, it was crazy expensive. I don't remember how much, but it was a huge thing, big box like this. Yeah, and it's like, well, you know, maybe if I hadn't just finished building this, I would consider that, but nah. Anyway, if you like what I'm doing and you want to see me build more of these kinds of things, let me know in the comments below. My next build is going to be Maverick's F-14 from the movie Tomcat, from the movie Top Gun. I know, I already did that build, and I went and destroyed that plane, but I wasn't happy with it, and I need to do it again, and I'm going to do it right this time. And so I'm going to be revisiting that build, and that's going to be my next project, right after this. Not right after this, but, you know, next. You know what I mean. Anyway, I'm going to thank you guys for watching, and thanks for coming out. All you guys just subscribe and watch my videos. Thank you very much. You guys are awesome. I really appreciate it. And yeah, so until next time, have yourselves a great day. Or if it takes me another week before I put up another video, then have a good week. Alright, thanks again guys, and we'll see you all next time. What's the MXR plays always says? Peace! No, that's not my thing. I go...